Hey guys, what's happening? So for this one, we're getting back into Blood Hunt and covering both part 3 and 4. Because now we come to the point where we finally get the huge reveal as far as what's going on with Blade and why he's suddenly become the villain. So with that said, if you enjoyed these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so starting out with Blood Hunt Part 3, I first want to point out, now that we're back to talking about the main event, there are a few things in here that jump ahead of the tie-ins, and I assume for the reason of not spoiling what's in the main series, but because this is heading into the huge reveal of what's really going on with Blade, and how that's supposed to be this huge secret the whole time, it creates this pacing issue where the main event seems to be happening a lot faster than what the tie-ins are allowed to reveal. Because there's about 15 tie-ins between Blood Hunt issue 3 and issue 4, and another 15 issues before Blood Hunt issue 5. So even though I waited about a month to cover this one, everything still ain't quite here yet, and I'm fine with that. But I just want to let you guys know ahead of time that there are smaller details that'll be explained at a later date. And I mean, that's even if those small things are significant enough to even talk about. But nonetheless, Blood Hunt Part 3. To start this out, we head back to the Sanctum Sanctorum, just after it was revealed that Miles Morales is a vampire, cause just when he attempts to go after Brielle Brooks, Vision tries to stop him and he catches the Count Chocula. But this attack doesn't last that long, fortunately, because both Clea and Strange are able to restrain Miles and use the Eye of Agamotto to open his eyes, so the true Miles can come to the surface before things really got out of hand. And I mean, right here it has me thinking a couple things, cause one, mindless vampire Miles Morales is terrifying if you really think about it. Cause for one, in that state he was still using his bioelectricity, so God forbid he started using the camouflage and the bioelectric constructs. That would have been a real problem. But when Miles snaps out of it, so to speak, he tells Brielle and the others that he told him to hunt for her, and Miles couldn't fight it, he had to do it. And Dr. Strange tells Miles that he did the same to Strange, showing up as a friend before he attacked, which understandably has Brielle confused, because everyone here is just saying he without mentioning who he is, which leads to Dracula dropping the bomb on her and letting her know that they're talking about Blade. And Dracula even takes it a step further here to explain why Brielle is so significant in all this. And he mainly tells them it's because with Blade being the new Lord of Vampires, and I put air quotes on the word new, because we know at this point that it isn't actually Blade, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But at this point, Dracula tells them with Blade being the new Lord of Vampires, he's engineered the darkening of the skies, he's loosed his legions of the night all over the world, he's broken the mighty Avengers, and Brielle is all that's left to stop him. She's the last of his bloodline. So that's why the Lord of Vampires has sent out the Blood Hunt, with her being his only weakness. So Dracula tells Brielle, aka Bloodline, that it's gotta be her hand that strikes Blade down. So of course she's like, no way. And some of the others like Tigra are quite skeptical too, because this is advice coming from Dracula, president of the Vampire Nation. But Dracula assures them if this Lord of the Vampires succeeds, then his vampire nation will fall just like any and every other nation in the world. So much like anyone else, he has plenty to lose here. But while these guys are going back and forth on whether or not they should listen to Dracula or even what they should do next, Brielle just takes off. And Miles just tells Dracula like, of course she did. Cause you just told her she needs to strike down her own dad. Like, do you really expect her to believe that coming from you? And Dracula responds like, don't lecture me, Spider-Man. But Miles cuts him off right there. He's just like, shut up. I gotta go look for her. So Miles races after Brielle to make sure she's okay, and Dracula goes after her too, because he believes Brielle's the key to all of this. But what this ends up doing, really, is taking us back into tie-in territory, because with Miles and Dracula leaving, this picks up in Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 21, where they catch up with her for a little bit, Dracula starts to lecture her, and she dips on them again. And as for the others, Tigra and Hunter's Moon request to be sent away, because the Midnight Mission, they have their own plan as far as what to do about the vampires, which goes along the lines of bringing their own army to this fight. And as for the other Avengers remaining here, since they know storming the Impossible City is just not a good plan at all, they decide what they should do instead is lure Blade out. So in the meantime, while they're waiting for the reinforcements of this army, Carol Danvers comes up with the idea of sending out a broadcast that'll give the people hope while also daring Blade to make his way down and attempt to break that hope. So Tony sets up the broadcast, and Sam Wilson, Captain America, gives the speech, which gets broadcasted everywhere. hitting every Blood Hunt tie-in near and far. But for the most part, he talks about how they've all faced evil a number of times over. Whether it was the Kotati in an event that no one cared about, or it was Null, who took the scenic route to reach Earth. Man, Null was coming for a long time. Pause. But amongst all of this, Sam gives a number of examples, whether it was Empire or King in Black, Secret Empire, the arrival of Galactus, any of them. But out of any of these examples, when evil wanted to party, the world came together and told it no. So Sam encourages everyone to do the same here. They're gonna avenge the dead, protect the living. And when it comes to the new Lord of Vampires, if he wants their home, he'll have to fight for it. If he wants their world, he'll have to take it. And if he wants their blood, he'll have to pay for every drop. But in summary, I will say it was a good speech. Sam hit every point that he needed to, and he even managed to slip in that taunt Carol was talking about. But after giving the speech, Carol's like, hey, that was perfect. But Sam, he's completely honest, so he lets her know. It's what T'Challa told the Impossible City back in Avengers issue 5, so Sam's just hoping if he could hear it, he'll recognize it. While Tony's just hoping that the speech did what it was supposed to do, as far as getting the Lord of Vampires to come after them. And following this, Carol sees a bright object light up the sky, and she responds to Tony like, look, I don't know if it did it, I know Blade. More than anything, he's cool, but that thing up there, wearing his skin, whatever it is anything but cool. So where from here next we head back to the Impossible City, where at this time a very frustrated Lord of the Vampires is continuing to give his orders to Blade, who's recently discovered the location of his quote-unquote prize, which as it turns out is the Temple of the First Blasphemy, aka the Temple of Varnae, as it's translocated and dropped right in the middle of New York City, since the new Lord of Vampires just really didn't like Sam Wilson's speech. So he decided to speed up his plans and drop his temple in the middle of Central Park so it can stand tall as if it were the hero's tombstone. So now with the Temple of the First Blasphemy being brought to New York, this creates the mile marker for Blood Hunt Part 4. And it's here where we get our big reveal. Because as Blade and the Blood Coven make their way into the temple, they're met by T'Challa. And as they do, Blade starts talking real crazy, asking T'Challa things like, do you have any idea how long it's been since I've walked these stones? And it's right here where T'Challa picks it up, because he's like, you're not Blade, are you? Like, wait a minute, to where then he gets the response, no, I am something much greater, and I will become greater still, Black Panther. This has always been the plan. Do you see? This has always been the work. Thousands upon thousands of years ago, what was begun with the crime against the universe will see completion here and now, when I was born for a second time, in a stone sarcophagus, drowned in blood, which at this point just has T'Challa like, okay, what are you? And he's given the response, I am Varnae, which I know, it's really not much of a surprise at this point. And I mean, it feels like I've been waiting weeks for the official moment where it was shown so I could say, hey, okay, look, there it is. So yeah, just to be clear, this whole time, Blade has been possessed by Varnae, the first vampire in Marvel Comics, who is also the original Lord of Vampires in Marvel Comics. And I feel like I gotta say in Marvel Comics for the both of those, because there's gonna be some diehard vampire fan in the comments who's gonna be like, well, actually, I've been serving Beelzebub for the past 400 years and alright, whatever. But after this, we make our way to Strange and Clea, who've made their way to Latveria to seek help from Dr. Doom. And come to find out, unlike everyone else, pretty much in this whole story, Doom already knew this was the work of Varnae. And it's funny how he just tells Doctor Strange and Clea that it was pretty obvious. Like, what, y'all don't watch Dope Spill comics on YouTube? What's wrong with y'all? But no. He goes on to tell them that years ago, a person by the name of Marie Laveau prepared Blade as a host for the spirit of Varnae, because the Daywalker's unique constitution made him an ideal vessel. And we're also shown how what Doom mentions here is referencing Blade the Vampire Hunter issue 5, when Varnae initially tried to take Blade's body, which didn't work the first time, because after Varnae's body was destroyed, he was brought back from the ethereal plane, and he only had a short window of time to put himself into Blade's body. So back then, Blade, he pretty much just ran the clock and kept Varnae at a distance until Varnae eventually just ran out of time. But with Doom bringing this up to Strange and Clea, he just mentions that last time Varnae failed, but clearly this time he didn't, so here we are. So next Steven asks Doom about how to get rid of the Dark Force energy that's blocking the sun. And Doom tells him he already had precautions for this because it was practically a matter of time before someone attempted to use Dark Force energy on a massive scale. So it wasn't that much of a surprise to him. And with Doom saying this, Clea then asked, what do they require to fix this? So Doom tells her, an assembly of mages to begin with, a grand array of magical creatures, brought together as one. So right there, Doctor Strange is like, hey, I can just call in the Strange Academy, that's no problem. Only to have Doom tell him, there's no need to, cause he already did. Which right here, this is more so explained within the Blood Hunt Strange Academy tie-ins, where Doom made his way out to recruit them. But as this continues, we come to find out this isn't all that Doom needs, because there's one last itty bitty little thing. Cause that last itty bitty little thing that Doom needs is for Doctor Strange to hand over the title of Sorcerer Supreme. And I mean, we knew that was coming, cause we saw Doom's reaction when Clea became Sorcerer Supreme. And following this, next, for a brief moment, we see Tigra and Hunter's Moon make their way to Asgard, so they can break Khonshu out of jail. And I mean, it could be just me, but it feels like Khonshu's been doing some serious time. But at this point, breaking him out of this Asgardian prison, this plays a huge role for the planned solution of the Midnight Mission. And following this, when we go back to Varnae, we find him explaining to T'Challa how he was there thousands of years ago in the old Atlantis, transcribing the Darkhold, putting its bleak words to paper for the very first time. And it was there when he took the first step of becoming what he will be. And he goes on to explain how the next stages of this evolution will involve him using both Wanda Maximoff and Thor Odinson. Because when Varnae first became a vampire, when he took part in creating the concept of what a vampire is, the vampire itself was only the first step. Going forward, as he goes on to drink Thor's blood, he tells T'Challa, I was destined for something more. I was destined to be the end of all things. And as he's saying this, the different glyphs all over the temple, they start lighting up red, to where next Varnae calls for the Dark Force to come to him. As he goes on to say, I am become one with the darkness, an entire dimension of darkness. I am become the dark that consumes the light, the cold that consumes the warmth. I am become a vampire that consumes entire planets, entire stars. I am become the unliving Dark Force. And with seeing this, T'Challa, he turns to the side like, yeah, okay, then what's that? So Varnae and the Blood Coven look up to see a bright full moon shining in the night. And right after that, these portals just start opening up all over the world, where out from them comes an insane number of former Fists of Khonshu, who have all been deceased for some time. Which right here just lets us know that the Midnight Mission's plan was a success. Because now not only do they have their army filled with Fists who have no blood, but on top of that, leading this army is the resurrected Moon Knight, Mark Spector, who's jumping in like, yeah, y'all killed me in my own series, but I'm back. So now with Moon Knight showing up with his army, this doesn't have Varnae worried because he believes that it's already over. But following this, when T'Challa pulls out one of the spikes from Damascene, Varnae also catches him, with Varnae believing T'Challa still had no control of his actions. But it's here where T'Challa reveals to him that the heart-shaped herb has been fighting his infection, healing him bit by bit. And when he grabbed this spike or this blade, this wasn't him going for the kill, but instead he was removing it from Thor's forehead so he could get back in the fight. So now not only is T'Challa revealing that he's nearly fully recovered, but also he's got Thor back in the fight, followed by the arrival of the other Avengers, who were hoping that the Lord of Vampires would make his way down so they could bring the fight to him. And Varnae, he welcomes it, because now that he's achieved his unliving Dark Force status, he's ready to throw down. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.